How's it going, everybody? We got Eddie coming up here. Hey, Nina Stevens. Let me get your video on. Hang on. There you go. What's happening?
There we are.
What's going on, brother? Is that your
Hey, hey.
cabin? Is that your cabin in Hawaii?
I am at my friend Pan's house here
Okay.
in what town is this? We're in we're in Kalapana, down over by
Oh,
Uncle Robert's, down in
Kalapana.
the lava fields.
Very cool. Very cool, man. I just saw you, what, 10 days ago? How long's it been? It hadn't been that long. Maybe 2 weeks.
Hasn't been that long.
I know, man. It
It's
was,
been
it was,
about 10 days.
yeah, it was really a pleasure meeting you. I was really, I'm not just going to say it, man. I was impressed, man. I mean, because and I'm not taking shots at anybody, because this is we're all going through the same thing, but some have a higher frequency of actually walking the talk, and maybe we've all evolved a bit,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, you're in this thing hook, line, and sinker. You're doing the Sundance deal. You've got the thing you're doing, the angel feather. You got your property in Hawaii that you're trying to do something with, and then you're out there just following the guidance and jumping in a car or a boat or a train or your feet and going from here to there. And you're just in it. You're in it 100%. You're a divine. I think you understand. You're a divine, eternal soul that's multidimensional, and you know what your purpose is here, and you're doing it. So big props to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I think a lot of people they get caught up in the mission, like why they're here, and it's like so they get caught up in the needing to know why
Yeah.
when it's more of a feeling, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
was just contemplating this morning, like my family and how they would never understand. I am completely the black sheep, and like, but for anybody that's in any kind of religious or anything, what it really comes down to is the teachings, right? I mean, it's put all the dogma aside and just go for the core of the teachings. And if you follow the path of the teachings, that will excel you to a level of contentment that will actually excel your life, and it'll expand your life versus well, I need to know everything. Because if we're focused on our mission, we're not going to start at the core,
Right.
and that could be a big issue. And I can see that with a lot of people struggling and giving up, going, it's just the whole thing's a spiritual experience. And you go, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. But if you came here for a purpose and you want to find out what that purpose is, start at the core values of what it means to be truthful, be considerate, be, share, be in service, and do those things. And just those things, put everything out of your mind, put
Yeah.
it out. If you have that stuff in your mind, you have no room for expansion.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. We can overcomplicate things very easily. Uh,
Mm.
and that's kind of been the pattern. I think that's part of the separation, codependent frequency, whatever you want to call it, is, it's almost like a distraction. I guess it is a distraction. Now I think about it,
Yeah.
because it is. I remember when I woke up 8 or 9 years ago and I was walking the streets, and I would hear that all the time, as I was being guided to write and share, and what would come back again and again and again was, the finite mind complicates things. The infinite mind has a beautiful simplicity. So keep things very simple. I am soul. There is a one power. There is a perfect order to the universe. Just very simple things, and you don't really have to get past, more than just a few things. And like you said, it's more of a feeling. I think that's coming into play a lot. As I do these shows, even people that have been out there for a long time, that are, I would call, high vibrational, or receiving channelings and transmissions and downloads for a long time, and sharing them, and having a pretty big following, watching watching us, uh, you know, go through that metamorphosis, and it's kind of like coming down to just Eddie Todd, to this human, multidimensional human that's applying all this stuff now, and there's kind of an air of humility, I guess is what I'm starting to see.
Yes. Uh, there, like you said, the distractions. It's like having a full plate. Like, where do you start? If your plate is so full and you don't know where to start, for me, I would, if I had a full plate, looking at a literal plate, I would look at it and smell my food and go, my nose, my brain, and everything tells me to start with that, and you
Hmm.
start here, and just work there, and then it'll eventually you'll eventually start to empty that plate. And it becomes nutrition. But the distraction is, it's definitely the mind, the
Hmm.
brain. I want to say more the brain than the mind,
Yeah.
because it's our thoughts, it's our conscious thoughts of, for example, it's when we say, well, look, Jesus said, love thy neighbor, share your food, and if you have very little, still share, because the abundance of understanding what that will give you eventually, that's the key, because then when things pour into your life, and people go, I know all this stuff, I know this stuff already, and then it's like, well, are you doing it?
Hmm.
Well, there it goes. That's the issue. It's
Hmm.
application. You have to apply. That's your prayer. Everything is prayer. When you pray to your food, what you're doing is you're talking to the atoms, the molecules, and the consciousness in that food. I don't care if it's cooked. I don't care if it's been, meat that's been in the freezer for 2 years. If you speak to it, and as it becomes nutrition, it will become more nutritious,
Yeah.
because you're speaking to something. You're alive, you're conscious, everything is all the way down. When it breaks down into like nothing, right?
Yeah.
When it breaks down, then what do we have left? And we have compost, the things decompose, but that doesn't mean it's not still alive and it's not transforming.
Exactly.
you know
Yeah.
and we look at the bigger picture. Just allow ourselves to do what we came here to do, which is the basics, the simple. Keep it simple. you know Keep it soul
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah, and that's where I find it interesting, without judgment. Well, as much as I can say that, I don't want to act like I'm Jesus. I'm not walking on water, but so, like, and I learned that, and I've mentioned this a few times on shows before, but so when I woke up and I went homeless for a couple years by my own choice, and I obviously didn't have much money, if I had any, so I would eat at McDonald's, 5 6 days a week off the dollar menu. And of course, by that time, GMO information was coming out and all that stuff. But I would sit there and I would look at these, a couple of dollar cheeseburgers and a dollar fry and a dollar coffee. And I would sit there and look at them until my gratitude was integrated. And as I looked at them, I would say, well, you're made of the same infinite substance that I am. We're the same thing, so I would and that taught me a lot. It really did. It made things a lot easier for me as I went down the road trying to balance or to integrate dark and light and all that. But one of the
Mhm.
things that I've noticed, which is interesting, in our circles in these communities, is the because it doesn't matter if it's a physical thing or an energetic thing, but like the polarization, of, say, politics. Is it Sanders? Is it Trump? Is it QAnon? Is it this? Is it that? Is it Anunnaki? Is it Pleiadian? Is it
Mhm.
and some of the hard stances and conviction that some of our brothers and sisters have, and I'm like going, wait a minute, man. It's whether and this is just me talking, but is it EMF or 5G or fluoride or whatever? I can
Or
I can connect with
typing,
anything.
downloading.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's the difference between the demons have taught me as much as the angels did. So I mean, it's like we can actually integrate and communicate and transform and reach equality with anything and everything and create, so
Mhm.
I think this is for me, this is for my journey, this is an important part of what you're talking about, is an important part of this year as I sit here in the present moment, is to walk the talk, and really nobody's keeping tabs on you. It's just you and the universe. You can't fake the universe out, so it sounds like that's where you're at.
Mm-mm. Everything is food. Absolutely. Because the bottom line is we don't we don't we don't have to think about how to digest our food, right? It just does it. Our body's natural intelligence breaks everything down for us. So the whole, I think that the whole idea for Soulogy is exactly that, is to analyze and to break apart what all of this means for us. And so again, like there's parts of natural intelligence, and there's parts that we're as humans, we're curious to know how food digests, to know how our body works, so we
Hmm.
have better functionality, more potentiality. And that goes with the mind, it goes with our emotions. Diving into these things is in our curious state. It's a good thing to be curious and to talk about it, but as to state it as fact is ridiculous.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because we don't know anything.
Exactly. And I think that, I say it all the time on these shows is, what I've learned for me, I'm not saying it's for everybody, but like I realized talking to people, like having this conversation with you, or even the other day when we were together and when we
Mm,
collaborated with Jeremy on that little gathering, it's the human interactions that, that bring the highest downloads, the highest
mm.
expansion, bigger than anything we connect with, and we've all done it, but it's like when you just get real, and amazing things happen. Like, I'm still trying to get over what happened that day, like you're in town, hey, I need a DJ. Oh, I'm a DJ. And then when we went over there, the universe was like talking to me, because there was what, like 35 people, but there was
Mm,
a significant number of men, which isn't typical for the conferences and expos and stuff that I've been to.
that's right.
But it wasn't just the fact that there was men there. It was like when we were trying to put the thing together with the equipment and all that, it was like two or three dudes just walk up and just like, hey, I got this chord, and I got this, or I know how to do that. And I was like,
Mm,
the universe was just like going, look, this is the new frequency. You're looking at a masculine frequency that's not competing, not comparing, and this is where we're headed. Have you experienced that? Did you see any of that there, or anywhere else that you've been? Are you starting to see a
oh
different
yes.
masculine out
Oh,
there?
I've experienced it many times. Even years ago in Sedona. Now, what it sounds like you're talking about is this what the Gnostics practiced, and that was nonverbal communication, and that
Mm,
was it starts out nonverbal. It starts out just connection, and this is actually from what I've heard is a Pleiadian thing. The way the Pleiadians communicate is nonverbal. But the Gnostics had the human practice of just staring and connecting, and then information is starting to be exchanged, and then it becomes verbal. And so it's like one mind. It becomes the two minds become one, and then so if I'm saying something, and then you're saying something, and it's just complementary, and it's
mhm.
just building up, and a lot of times it's stuff that we don't know. So going into the gnosis is tapping into the higher mind.
Yeah.
So where they would do this on a regular basis, and I've experienced this with several brothers, uh, sisters. They, for their frequency, they have to be a little bit more in balance with their masculine. If they're more in balance with their masculine, then it's easier for me because I'm more in balance with my feminine. So then we can have that flow, because it, the feeling when you actually feel it, it feels like a wave, that's a bouncing wave that's going between two people. It's like this. Now you probably experienced that with touching fingertips and
Hmm.
closing your eyes with someone. You feel that cyclic energy, and then sometimes it feels a little bouncy, and that's the wave of the frequency bouncing back and forth. So when you look at if you look at the infinity symbol, the infinity symbol is what we're seeing is a two-dimensional figure, right? But
Yeah.
if you look at it three-dimensionally, it's going like this. It's going inward. And that's the frequency, that's the flow of, that the energy that goes through us. It
Yeah.
looks and it feels bouncy, but when you're in the center of it, that's when you'll feel that wave. It's really
Yeah.
beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
Again, when you come back, you're like, what was that?
Yeah. That's why I said I'm
Well,
still like, I'm getting chills talking to you, but I mean, I'm still like looking back at that snapshot of, you know, of that, whatever that was. And it wasn't even the whole, well, it was the whole 2, 3 hours. But I mean, it was like there was something going on. And I saw it as, you know, here, you're being shown what's present, what's possible, you know, I mean, and I was very, very grateful. And then I really like what you said too about, you know, you're able to do this more naturally with men, you know, and I see that. I see how, you know, the women have always had that type of communication with each other, you know, women's intuition and just, you know, the men have been a little bit different. Our journeys are different. Now things are changing, but yeah, I can see where these bridges, that infinity sign between the two genders energetically, the energetic genders is starting to, you know, starting to manifest like it did at that little gathering. Yeah, that makes a lot of
absolutely.
sense. I'm glad you mentioned that because I had not really heard that before, but that explains a few things to me. Yeah, right on.
It's difficult for both parties, for men and women, and the reason why is because we're born into this understanding of what a man is supposed to be, and then it's like here's your manhood, and then we're left holding an almost empty bag, and we're
Mhm.
going, where's the rest? Like, I don't, my parents didn't teach me, my family didn't teach me what a man was supposed to be. No rites of passage, no ceremony. I don't
Mhm.
know what I'm supposed to do when I grow up. All I know is I'm kind of going, I guess I gotta wing it. I don't know, like, I don't have any role models, like any real
Yeah.
uh of what a man is. My uncle was a beautiful example for me. So I emulated a lot of his behaviors and a lot of his he was a good man, so I emulated that. But now I find that part of myself in my 20s into my 30s. And then all of a sudden, at the same time in college, I'm starting to integrate my feminine. And the
Mm.
feminine part, like, I have women in college going, "Are you sure you're not gay?" And I'm like, "No,
Mhm.
I'm becoming more in touch with my softer side and expanding." So I had a lot of girlfriends back in college, not
I
dating,
know what you
just
mean.
friends,
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you
picking the
mean.
brain and going, okay, and then engaging it. And so as I'm trying to, this is from just my experience, but just trying to mature as a man, and then I'm starting to this feminine side is starting to engage, and and that's even more difficult for men to, even if you're a stable, mature man, to to integrate the feminine, because now you're entering the field of chaos, and the field of chaos is people say, oh, I was talking to my friend, she said, women are psychos. I said, no, they're not. And she's a woman. I was like, they're not psychotic, they're chaotic. And chaos is the field of potentiality, the
Mhm.
field of everything. The womb is the circle, the zero we get from the womb, the shape of the womb, and that's the birthplace of 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
everything. And so that's why everything is circular. The planet and moons and suns and everything, atoms, molecules, are all circular because they hold that spherical energy of potentiality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us to now try to, like, comprehend and integrate that information is like, and then so when people are treating me a certain way and I'm getting emotional and I'm going, why am I so emotional? Why ain't I like, what? Screw you. Why ain't that, like, that macho, like, what you got a problem? I'm like,
Mhm.
crying, and I'm just like, oh, I'm feeling so much more. But that feeling, to be able to have that emotional state, for me, is freedom, because I don't have to
Yeah.
carry it. I can
Yeah.
express it. And Ah,
Yeah, that
it's a
and
beautiful
that's
thing.
yeah, it is, and I can relate to what you were saying too. I had never thought about this, but I remember mine. I guess I have three sisters that were younger than me, but very close to me, and so I don't know. And I was always had a sensitivity, I guess, toward aunts. Had many aunts and grandmothers, mothers, and all that. And but I remember in high school that I had a lot of friends that were girls, and I would even
Mm.
go out with them. We'd go out with the guys, and then every couple of weeks I might go out with three or four chicks, and there was no,
Yeah.
there was no hanky panky or anything. And I remember a couple of my friends saying, "Why do the girls like you, man?" And they didn't mean it like, but now I get it because I was connected to that part of me. But then I
Hmm.
went into the world and I became very alpha male, went into the corporate world. And so going back to what you're saying, you have this thing handed to you and there's nothing in it. And I've recently gone through that, like over the last couple of years, as my false masculine was being reamed and being pushed out, I guess. And I'm like, okay, you're going to take this away, that away, this away, that away. And everything got taken away. And I would tell Morgan,
Hmm.
okay, now I don't even have any balls. I'm like just totally demasculated. I have no
Yeah.
nothing energetically. I have no
Yeah.
erection. I have no manhood. I have no, machismo. And now I could say, like over maybe the last 3-4 months, it started to come in, and that chaos and the feelings, I think, are the big one for me, because I was like, okay, like you were doing a minute ago, why am I feeling this way? This doesn't feel powerful, but now I'm starting to get in touch. These feelings are actually bringing some type of deep, innate, original blueprint power. These being, operating by feeling, through, from what I mean, as opposed to that
Hmm.
rigid, machismo thing. I'm starting to see I don't know what it is, but I can feel the power coming on. I really can. Yeah.
Michelle, I just come here real quick. I just wanted you to say hi. This
Yeah.
is
Hi.
this is my sister. We've been friends for what, 5, 6 years? About
Gosh, more
6 years.
than that, I think.
Yeah,
Hey,
like almost
Michelle.
7 now because we're in
Yeah.
2020. So,
Wow.
Michelle, like we were talking about that because me and Michelle have shared a bed, but she's my friend.
Yeah.
Like that's yeah, it's my homie, my love. I love her to death. Know,
That's
I would do
awesome.
anything. That's my sister.
Yeah.
And we met in ceremony, and and just we've had this massive connection. We've gone to Sedona, we've gone to Mount Shasta.
Travel
Wow.
buddy. And
She's
nothing,
here
yeah.
in Hawaii now from Sacramento, California, and we're here at the same time. So it's like,
Far
we get
out,
to
man.
One of my
share
first
the space
brothers who,
again.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm assuming just that relationship between men and women.
Well,
And just,
mostly ourselves, like the
oh,
masculine,
yeah.
feminine.
Yeah, like that merging and
Yeah,
just like,
because this is fire right here.
too
She's processing
much
the
masculine.
integration of the masculine, and, so she goes back to her feminine, and of course that's the whole process. Is for me, it was like, like you said, it was like becoming more sensitive and like feeling demasculated
Yeah.
and feeling like just like I'm not a man anymore. I don't even know what a man is. And then all of a sudden we pull back to our masculine, and we integrate that feminine essence. We will never be able to understand what a woman goes through as a man because we're not supposed to. That's part of the mystery.
Yeah.
And for her, for the women, it's the same thing, is to feel the masculine, what we go through and what we experience, and then go back to their femininity with that confidence of the mother and the sister and the lover and the grandmother, to come back in with that and just go, this is my power.
Yeah.
And so she's hard on herself about that sometimes, but she's
I need
but
to
she's a
soften.
freaking warrior. She's a
Yeah.
warrior. She's doing the work. And so she's good when she's down on herself. I'm like, no. I love you. Everybody loves you, and you're and just, I'm your cheerleader. That's it. I love you.
Amazing. It's
Uh,
a
and
beautiful thing.
when I need her, she's there for me,
Yeah.
always. So,
Yeah.
oh, it's so good to have that. you
Yeah,
know
I think that's one of the things that really helped me, because I mean I think I reawoke in summer 2011, and then but once I came off the street a couple of years later, I started getting involved in these communities, and I met a lot of sisters, and it's still today. As I've traveled around, there's a lot of sisters I've met with, and it's very much the same. There's no that old game is gone. And that's one thing
Hmm.
that kind of shocked me. Uh, as I went out, and I won't mention any names, but I went to Sedona, which would have been the end of 2018 when I really started to kick this thing up, and the traveling. And I talked to someone very well known, and she said, "Man, I hope you stay here. We need more of this energy," which I don't even know what the energy is really. I'm just like being me. But I went to some conferences, and I was shocked because 80%, 85% of the representation in these communities has been females. It's changing pretty rapidly now, but and I went to these
Yeah.
conferences, and they were just so patriarchal. They were so masculine, wounded masculine dominated. And my sister went on to tell me how in this spiritual community, she's getting hit on and grabbed. And, and I'm like, what? Like what? And which was, I guess, a message for me. So I didn't go punch someone between the eyes, and I had to learn how to deal with it with more of my feminine influence. But yeah, so it's interesting, and I think there's a lot of good signs. There's a lot of really good signs. I think that gathering we had the other day, the male frequency was incredible, the masculine frequency, and guys like you out there, that are balanced, more centered. That's a great, that wasn't always so accepted. And I don't know about you, but you talked about college, and I can remember in high school I had a few fights. You know, how soft are you, Todd? How you know what I mean? So
Mm.
yeah, but it's coming. I think it's coming.
Yeah. And I saw a young picture, like that picture of you when you were, in your what,
Oh
late teens, early 20s.
yeah, 17. That was 17
Yeah,
years old.
that's yeah. Yeah, I could tell you were probably a little bit of a target because I know I was only 5'2" when I was a freshman. I was short,
Mm-hmm.
little guy, and you know, for me, I was like, just I had to push through fear, and I actually, my friends from my teens, all through my teens, were all masculine, like rugged men. They were gangbangers and things like that. And so like hanging out with these guys, I had to be tough, and that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all. Like growing up, it
Yeah,
was I just wanted to go play on my bike and go
yeah,
hang out at the river.
yeah,
And if I didn't have those friends, I would have been like living like that, just free and clear of all the drama. But I was placed in those positions to learn something, and I became like this really piece of iron.
yeah,
Like looking, I got scars, like I always say, right
yeah.
here, because my teeth are jagged, so I always got punched in the mouth. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
was I was I was a target. So yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, you
I
got the
got a
crooked
bunch of
teeth
chipped teeth,
and just these scars.
but I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but it was like,
yeah,
yeah, I actually became something I wasn't. I think that's what you're saying. I actually became this
yeah,
alpha
that's what I'm
male,
saying.
and I thought I was still sensitive to feminine females, and I guess I was, but I totally lost it. I totally had to be reconstructed.
Yeah,
Thank God for Morgan Lee, man. I mean, because I'd had no consciousness. I wasn't conscious at all of what I had become. But it's being supported now. I guess that's what I'd say. It's being supported.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now you so here's my take. My take is like, okay, we got all this information. I think we talked about this, but like we got all this information. We've got enough information to know who we are, what we are, what we're a part of. Now, what the hell are we going to do with this? Let's get it done. Let's do it.
That's right.
Where are you
That's
at
right.
with that on a
Yeah.
personal level? Like I know you're doing into a lot of different things, but
Mm.
like where are you at with that?
Well, I think it comes down to now you're talking about application.
Yeah.
Uh, we had talked about that. I have a friend named Will Gray. He does live feeds, but I've known him way before Facebook Live, and we used to go to crew meetings, and we used to talk, just spiritual talk and enlightened talk, and talk, and then finally, we're sitting there at the meetings, and people are like, you can tell when people are not stimulated. They're just kind of like, yeah, we've already discussed this. And so at that point, I kind of looked around and said, it's time for application. And then everybody's head pops up. Ooh, how? So we started doing tests. We used a voltmeter reader with music and people sitting in a circle and like whole, everybody at least connecting, touching somewhere, hands or, but everybody touching to complete a circuit. And then the song would peak, and then you would see the meter change.
Wow.
And then we did another focus where someone's in the middle. Everybody puts the energy at the person in the middle, not touching, just putting the energy. One person holding the ground and one person holding the positive end. The person in the middle holding positive, and then watching the meter. And then we got different results, and it was powerful either way. But it was just like, whoa, this stuff is something's really happening. Doing Reiki circles and doing all these things to where it's not like, how are you feeling? Oh, I feel good, but my back still hurts. It was like, jumping off the table. Oh my gosh, my back is like, it's not hurting anymore. A year of pain gone in like 20 minutes. Putting these things into practical application. So the integration part, anything that we've already integrated, we can apply. And I feel that a lot of people are doing a lot of this stuff now, drumming, music, musical alchemy. Like I said, for myself, it's what I would like to do is to do the mystery school. And that's to reveal the mystery now. For me and for everyone, it's always different. So to be able to build a mystery school and to help people to understand how to speak to trees and how to do this and that, and then bring all that information back together so other people can gather this information, look at it almost like scientists, and then going, well, let me find out if that's true, because I don't believe anything. I don't care if someone says God touched me and this is the words that came through. I'm going to go, okay, well, I'm going to make that phone call too. And and then find out if that information is truth.
Right.
And if it's true for everyone, not just for me, So this whole idea of communal living, the whole idea of bringing people together is really about like culture. It's creating a culture. It's creating an information base, and that eventually, that when we leave, come and go, and that information, those seeds spread. The information is built into our DNA energetically. It's all there. And I don't know if you may have experienced where you've had conversations with people, and then they go, I am blasted wide open, and they start telling you all this information, and you're going, yeah, you didn't tell them any of it, but they start, this stuff is flowing through them, and you're going, yeah, I've gotten the same information. That's amazing. Just from that connection, the energy of our exchange has opened that person. It's expanded them to the point where they're now broadcasting and receiving at a different frequency. It's very simple, and it's and so that's the whole thing about, like, for me, learning Lakota and the drum with the Lakota and the prayers and the lodge, and learning that the shape of the lodge is a womb, like the earth womb, and broadcasting that energy into the earth, and then stepping out. And when you do your prayers and stuff, now you're broadcasting out to the world. You're doing the inner work and the outer work, and understanding how sacred these things are, the inner verse, versus the outer verse, and how we bridge those together. Understanding that if I say to Todd, I say, okay, now I'm going to say guitar. Now, without using words, hear the word guitar in your head. Now, how are you hearing that without hearing? Right? How are we hearing the word without hearing? Because it's just a frequency. It's not, well, it's my brain works this way, blah, blah, blah. It's just a frequency.
Yeah.
And when we start to learn that, then when we can hear or experience certain frequencies, vibrations, my shamana, my mentor, she calls it mapping. So when you are learning something and integrating something, take a really good look at it. It's like say if a lesson is like a flower, I look at the color, look at the details, look at, smell it and feel it, take it all in, all that integration. I don't care if it's ugly. I don't care if it's, someone, if it's the worst heartbreak, or if it's the if it's someone terribly lied to you, and
Mhm.
I'm like, take it all in, integrate it, like see it. So the next time that you come upon this, you don't have to deal with that again. Or if it's something that like if it was a rock where we're navigating, boom, we're not going to run into that rock again. We've already mapped that out. So we're going to go around next time. So
Mm.
this navigation process to get back to higher frequencies, different experiences, is all about integration and the experience, and getting back to that. Because when we do that simply by waking up in the morning and saying, today's going to be a great day again, because I can feel it, I can smell it, the wind's blowing, the whatever's in your sphere, and you're broadcasting that to create uh, a navigational path where we're on autopilot at that point. It's our
Yeah.
GPS is just cruising. We're cruising now.
Yeah. That seems to be coming into
So
play. That seems to be coming into
yeah,
play. It's like I say, it's like, you're going down the grocery aisle with your grocery cart, and you don't even have to take anything off the shelf. They just start jumping into your basket.
hmm
You said something really interesting too. I just want to get some clarification. So you said when you okay, and I fully understand. It's all in our DNA. It's just a matter
hmm
of opening it. Now you used the word integrate, and that may be the same thing. You said once you integrate something, it's available to you. And I just want to ask the question slash make a distinction. Uh, that's kind of how I've experienced it. Was like, you get these activations, you get these downloads, you get these knowings, and so it's not like just because you got it, now I can go out and perform telekinesis in front of 1,000 people. It's not like that.
yeah,
But I like what you said, because it resonated to the fact that it's turned on.
mm-hmm.
So much of this stuff has been turned on individually and collectively. And so what you're saying, I think you can elaborate on it, is it is
Mm-hmm.
available, but it's not just gonna, come slap you in the head with a cosmic 2x4. You've still
No,
got to go, you still got to go find it and nurture it and utilize it. To find the power of soul, you got to utilize soul, so to speak.
right,
Could you
right.
elaborate on that?
All right, this is perfect. I had a dream that I could fly, but it was there was a sound frequency that was involved, and I went, okay, I have to remember that now. Uh, Again, like I said, when you hear the word guitar in your head, when I say it, and then you hear it. So if there's a sound frequency that can elevate us, make us fly, uh, practical application is, having people blast those tones at you, and you start to lift, and then after a while, because the like put it, let's say it's a bunch of speakers, and then it lifts us off the ground, right? Now that's what you call a catalyst. All the sound from the speakers and the mute, wherever the music's coming from, is just the catalyst.
Hmm.
Now when we get back on the ground, we have to remember, hear that sound, and then we'll lift off the
Mm.
ground. But it's, so we have to I tell people, if you're gonna practice anything like that, like telekinesis or levitation, even psychic stuff, practice first with yourself. Make sure that you have a simple way of practicing, especially with some people that you trust and that aren't going to take the wheel and wreck your boat.
Hmm.
But just keep doing that stuff practically, like use the catalyst for a while, and then finally let go of the oars, and then, like you said, the stuff just starts flying off the shelf by itself. When you
Yeah.
hear that frequency inside you, you will levitate, and there you go, you'll go.
Yeah.
uh, but you have to keep thinking of the frequency in order to keep levitating, otherwise you're going to hit the ground. So
Yeah.
that's kind of pointless to go, oh, I'm flying, and then, oh no, you're not. It's the Peter Pan happy thought thing, process. It's like you have to stay in that state, and you can eventually open your eyes. It's like do you do a walking meditation? Have you ever heard of that?
Mm. I mean, I mostly walk as meditation, but I'm not sure if it's the
Yeah.
exact same thing you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, you start, everybody starts out on the ground meditating, and then their eyes closed. And after a while, you can meditate with your eyes open. You can still see the things that you see besides what's in your visual. And, and then eventually after a while, when you start a walking meditation, I would practice washing dishes or
Oh, I
cleaning my
got you.
car out.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so when it becomes the walking meditation, then it's like driving. Even when you meditate while you're driving, and then you're like, oh, I'm there. You're like,
Yeah, no, that I can definitely attest to, and with the walking,
yeah. So when we can do that, we get to that state where we can still hear the frequency, we can open our eyes, and then,
yes,
then we can
okay, I
see
see.
where we're actually moving
Yeah, I see.
ourselves,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's funny. And well, of course, there's no coincidences, but so over the last, I don't know how long, because Morgan and I clasp hands every night, and then we connect, and it's
Mhm.
different every time. But so the last few were sometimes we don't talk at all; we just do our own thing. But so I've kind of been like, okay, eyes closed, and I'm doing my thing, and I start playing with eyes open, doing my thing, and just kind of like carrying it like you're talking about. Like
Mhm.
last night was extremely intense, and it was like almost like new thresholds reached. But as I
Mhm.
opened my eyes, I could still see, like, I guess maybe this is what you're talking about. I could still see the ceiling and the windows, but I could also see beyond it. You know what I mean? I could
Mhm.
see, and I was like, say, walking on another planet. It was like a movie playing. Like I was
Mhm.
just doing different things. But yeah, they were both happening simultaneously. It wasn't like I was one place or the other. It's interesting that you
Right.
mentioned that, because I just started doing that. I normally keep my eyes open. She keeps her eyes closed, and then I started closing my eyes and seeing what the difference was. And now I'm back to doing both. But I can see
Mhm.
how that is practical application, right? I mean,
Yes.
you practice, yeah. And see, because the other thing that I can talking to you that the other day talking to you, and then now it's kind of being reiterated, is for me the experiences are so most of the time, no visuals, but they're so subtle that I
Mhm.
still, after many divine episodes and many things happening, many congruencies, I still go into that. Oh man, am I just crazy? You know. But so listening to you, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. That's exactly what I need to be doing, is to practically practice. Practice. How do you become a marksman? They say a marksman in the Marines typically shoots 1,000 shots before they get there. You know what I mean? So that makes sense to me. So
Mhm.
rather than to doubt myself, I can go back into and just keep working and exercising it like a
Right.
muscle. Yeah.
The doubt will always be there. It will always be there, and that voice is supposed to be there because the closer you get to the uh the empowered being, that voice gets louder, right? Because
That makes sense.
it's not that it's trying to stop you. It's testing you constantly to make sure that you know that you are, it's the opposite of Alexander the Great, because Alexander the Great had this huge ego, and he was like, he would just go everywhere and just take over everything, and he would war with some, and diplomacy with others, but he was just larger than life. But he had a man that walked with him, and every time he went to some place, he would tell this guy would just whisper in his ear, "You're just a man.
Hmm.
You're just a man," to remind him to humble himself and not be like, "Oh man, Alexander the Great," and he gets a arrow through the neck. He has to humble himself to be aware of what's going on, so he's not blinded by his ego.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
for us, it's the
yeah.
opposite. It's like we're trying to become from humility into our powerful
Mm,
state,
yeah.
and that voice is going, it's fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
You're
You're small.
fooling
You're
yourself.
small.
Right.
You're just
And
one. Yeah. You're just one of 8 billion aspects on a drop of dew on a leaf.
right. And so that voice is important to have.
Yeah.
So we can go, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of the lie that I know a little bit more than that, because the lie gets bigger, you know, and the lie, because that's a simple lie when we're at simple states, but when we start to grow energetically, we're going to be tested, and it'll just, you are nothing, I am greater than you, and it just gets big, and you go, thank you for the reminder. I'm gonna be bigger too. Maybe you are.
I'm digging that.
Hmm.
Where do you think let's just keep it at 2020.
Sure.
As far as, because that's about all we can do, and that's even too far out. But
Mm.
so what do you think we're going to see, like, say, in the next few months? I mean, there seems to be a
Mm.
lot of people that are practically applying, and they may not have them, say, an all around high acumen, but
Mhm.
they might have different parts, that they've started to master and perfect, and with that comes, the higher skills and abilities, and the other aspects of multidimensionality that's starting
Mhm.
to, I mean, for my mind, is starting to take root and be anchored in the earth because of the work of so many people have done. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that we're going to start seeing things we would have never seen 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 50 years ago, things that might be attributed to the Jesuses and the Buddhas, and those that have walked the earth. But I mean, what's your feeling on that? Do you think we'll see some, from a human's vernacular, supernatural things,
Mhm.
miracles, that type of thing?
Oh, absolutely. There's no reason for that not to be. At this point, we are the biggest killer in this life is self-doubt.
Hmm.
You know, the an example is when a man told me once, these kids interrupted our Gnostic moment, where we're just having this beautiful conversation, and these two young men walk up, and they're just like, well, what about this and what about that? And my friend is a little slightly drunk at that point. They call him Gray. He's a man out in Kauai. I don't know, you might have met Gray.
It's possible.
And so he goes, let me ask you guys something. Let me ask you something. How old are you going to be when you die? And these young men go, I don't know. And he goes, see, what do you know then? And he said, just give me an answer. What do you think? And then one of the guys goes, I'll probably be like 70. And the other guy, what about you? Yeah, like 65, 70, 67. I don't know. It's about around there. He looks at me, he goes, what about you? I said, well, I plan on living for 300 years. So I'm 40 years old. I got 360 years left. So yeah, so I got about 360 years. So I plan on, no, I said, like, yeah, 300. So that's 400. So 400 years. But I can change that. But right now, 400 years. And he goes, who out of all of you who I believe him. He said 400 years, and you guys are probably going, that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it so confidently that I believe him. He said, you guys don't know who you are. You don't know where you're at. You don't know where you're going because you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And that goes, like I said, I think I showed you that little wound, where I got a 2-inch nail driven into my thumb. Yeah, 3 days healed. And people are like, don't swim in the ocean. It's going to get bacterial infection. I swam in the ocean. Oh, you need to keep it clean. I didn't keep it clean.
Yes.
My chief would say, rub some dirt in it. And if my chief said that, I would go, yeah, rub some dirt in it. And if that's the best medicine, I know he's not going to lie to me.
Yeah.
So, it's because it's all about our belief system is our religion.
Exactly. And I've said that, and I can't explain it the way you did, but because I've said that, because we all know that beliefs limit us. We that's part of the, the awakening, understanding, attachments, and all the other stuff that can. But there's something, and I always look at the placebo effect. I can
Mhm.
remember many times in my life, like, I remember starting a job in my early 20s in sales, and I went in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and I just did my job. I got the
Mhm.
training, I went and did my job, and I came in, and I walk into the sales meeting, and I'm being treated like like I'm the next coming of Buddha. And they're like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just doing what you guys trained me to do. But the point is I hadn't seen the historical performances. I hadn't seen the data and the metrics. I hadn't seen how much people typically sold, you know. So I didn't have a ceiling. I wasn't working like 90
Mhm.
hours a week, but it was just my belief. That's all it was. Like, oh, well, I can go knock on this door and I can ask this person, and so that's how I look at it. And that's why, what I'm kind of really, and I love sitting in this chair because I'm basically like a client, talking to practitioners, but to be able to say, well, because there's certain things I do practice that I do
Mhm.
practically apply. But what I'm picking up from you, it's these little things really, and I hate to use that term, but it's these little things that is where it's just me and the universe mano y mano, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's where that voice is like, oh, that didn't happen. Oh, da da da. But that's to me what I'm getting out of this today is where
Mhm.
I need to apply or reapply, and
Yeah.
and to build those, the neural pathways, the habit, the behavior, whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of
You
power
know
in
what
the
I
little things. Yeah.
absolutely. My friend Will he said it best, and this is where I think we're starting to get to is, people are when people create dogma around their bag of magic.
Yeah.
This is my bag of magic, and this is how it works, and it applies to my life. When it becomes dogmatic, then it's like, yeah, that means you're not going to accept. You're going to limit yourself to
Yeah.
what other people go. Look, I have a bag of magic too, and I have a mini unicorn in there. Oh, unicorns don't exist, so you're just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like you're limited. They limit that. No, 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 no. They don't. So it's and that's I think where a lot of people are right now is like they're not going look. Here's mine and here's mine. Let me. Oh, that's cool. You got like this whole different magic bag of how I how to live your life magically. This is yours and this is mine. And they go, oh, that's cool. That's great. This is, oh, what about that one? How do you use that? And they go, oh, and this just is sharing and go,
Mm-hmm.
that's you put, and then they go, I could put this with this, and then that's transmutation, and now it just became something bigger.
Yeah.
That's alchemy right there. Whoa,
It's like
big magic.
it's like one cosmic remix after another. I love, I'm like you.
Absolutely.
I love music like you, and I love listening to like these contemporary DJs that might take like Muddy Waters or Howlin' Wolf or
Mm,
or James Brown, or they mix Wu Tang and the Beatles, and that's the way I look
mm-hmm,
at it. It's like it's a remix. Like, so if, like what you described, you walk into a situation, we're no longer hoarding anything. We're not comparing, my
mm-hmm,
bag of my tool belt to your tool belt, but we mix them, and then you remix
mm-hmm,
them, and you just start to have this flower of life, kind of a exponential, patterning, that's developing and moving rapidly by the,
mm-hmm.
by the space that we're all holding collectively now due to the inner work we've done. I mean, this is huge because, people, and this is even recent. I've had these conversations on the show, and they're talking about the community. I saw somebody projecting, and I saw this, and and they're being stingy and they're greedy, and I'm like, where have you not gone that you haven't seen the same thing everywhere you've been? If you take 100 Catholics and 100 light workers and 100 atheists, and there's going to be 8 of these and 7 of these and 9 of these, it's all the same thing. It's not like, so it's
Yeah.
but there are people that are living what you're talking about. Vera
Mm-hmm,
Vera Ingeborg and Augusti Sally are over in Colorado now. They're doing it. You know, I've met Natasha and Ryan Weeks down here. They're doing it. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be traveling and, you know, doing that nomadic thing, but you can do, it's all energy, and you can do it in so many ways. But the competition, the comparisons, the, you know, the junior high bush league BS, and, you know, and all that
Yeah.
stuff seems to be going away. And I just wonder, is it fading everywhere or only in these circles we're in, you know?
Yeah. Just in the circles. You know, the truth about paradise, Earth, is that we could have it any which way we want it, you know. And and if our paradise is someone else's hell, and we've seen that, when
Mhm.
people are walking around going, nobody wants to be around me, and like, and, you know, but they're not saying that. They're saying all these people are full of shit, but they're the angry one, you know. And everybody's like, you know, everybody's like, yeah, we're all hanging out over here going,
Mm-hmm.
are you sure? Are you sure? We all get
Mm-hmm.
along. I don't. Why aren't you get along?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so, but that's their own
Yeah, of
sphere that
course. Yeah.
they're creating. Maybe a lot of people don't know that they're creating it, or they're still
Yeah.
locked into the Maya,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. It's not our
Sure.
place to, you know, to get them out of that. If that's what they choose, that's okay. When they come to us and they go, I'm tired. You go,
Yeah.
okay, here's one of the answers right here. Come here, you're tired, come here. You give them a hug and go, just breathe, man. And then
Yeah.
how you feel better? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, all that months of bullshit in your head, and one hug and you feel better. What does that say?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it says you need more hugs, man. You need to
Yeah.
connect more. You need to, you need to grow and love. But if you want to go back to that, it's there waiting for you, and
Yeah.
that's okay too. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting mix. And even like with the whole fading of the wounded healer codependent type frequency, you know, like, you know, the distraction of, you know, I'm going to help this person, that person, this person, that person. At the end of the day, you end up like the person you're describing because you're in an island all by yourself, you know, because you haven't paid attention to yourself. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
people, as I've seen it and sitting in this chair, I mean, they're really starting to look at themselves, you know, and they're really starting to honor and respect and love themselves. And when that happens, at least from my point of view, it immediately translates to the collective, you know, as within, without,
Mhm.
you know. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, going back to what Eddie said at the top of the show, keep it simple, stupid, you know. If you just focus on yourself, there ain't nothing else to do, because if you're focusing on anything else, you're neglecting the
Mm,
one thing that serves us best, us, you know. Yeah.
mm.
So where you, how long are you going to be in
That's
Hawaii?
we.
How long are you going to be in Hawaii?
Good question.
You don't know.
Uh, it's funny because I'm sitting around here. We were talking about, because the three of us are in the Gene Keys. Is that right?
Mm.
That we're all projectors, and so like we don't generate our own power. So like it's like when the wind tells us it's time to move and shift, and that's what we have to navigate with the winds. You know,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
right.
oh, you know, with our we sit here with our sails down until it's time for us to go. And then we're like, oh, here it comes. Yeah, here comes the wind. Now, boom, now we're going. We take those opportunities. So my my human plans are supposed to be like April, like end of March. Headed back to California for
Mm.
the Star Knowledge Conference that's happening in Laguna Beach, and that's April 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe.
Oh wow.
And that's going to be, and so you know some of the Star Knowledge people too. So
Yeah. No, in fact, if I was just, when you said that, I thought, oh man, I want to go, but we won't be leaving here till April 1st. So, and that's cool,
ah,
you know. But yeah, I
yeah,
definitely see. And we're just like you. You know, we're, you know, like somebody asked us the other day, where are you going from here? Well, as it stands, we're going to go to Arkansas. Got a couple things to do up there, but that could change. You know, I mean, we were living in Hawaii thinking we were going to live forever there. You know, it's
mm,
such a beautiful place in Kauai, and you know, and just had everything we needed, man. And, you know, eating out of the garden and just, you know, but, you know, you get the call, you got to go. You know,
yeah,
there's no resisting. There was enough resistance of the higher self. And we all know
yeah,
that's not a real healthy thing to do. it'll make the ride a little bit more hellish than heavenly. But man,
That's right. And
yeah, go ahead.
we're trying to tap into the natural state.
Yes.
Like I said, the cross pollination, the integration. If we're going to evolve, if our, because we do that all the time now with animals, right? We crossbreed, and plants we crossbreed, like marijuana. Like the people are like, we don't even know if it's sativa or indica anymore, but they're like beautiful plants, and then they can grow in all these climates, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter. I guess you could test it to see if it's going to be what it's going to be. But that goes for us too. Like we are in a constant state of change with all the people that are around us and all the different energies that we're sharing. And so sometimes we have to like crawl in our hole and be alone. And sometimes we need to be around bunches of people,
Yeah.
and to soak in all that beauty. And then sometimes it's ceremony where it's just like we're just one thing,
Yeah.
so we
One
have this
organism.
multidimensional experience.
Yeah.
We have this experience, these multidimensional experiences, as singularities, as collective, and as in oneness, in harmony, you know
Right
and
on.
in the chaotic field too. I mean, that
Yeah.
whole thing is
Yeah.
it's a
That's the
place in
incubator,
itself.
man. That's the cauldron. That's where you jump into the soup and you just don't know what's going to come out of it. But yeah, very cool. I'm glad you came on, man. I appreciate you sharing space with us, and I look forward to doing it again and again and again. I look forward to seeing you again and having a little bit more
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
Maybe at a gathering or something. But yeah, I wish you the best, and if I can help you in any way, let me know. If you need to, expand awareness of anything that you're doing or involved with, just you think Soulogy can help, then you just let me know, and I'll be glad to help. All right, man.
Thank you, Todd. Yeah, I
Right on,
love you,
brother.
brother, man.
You too, man. You take care. I'll see you, Eddie.